Jeff Discher here, and you're in for a real treat today on There's a Difference. Let's go see what we have today. All right, guys, what's up? Jeff Discher bringing you another episode of There's a Difference here in downtown San Diego at DGHQ. And you know what I do? I bring on disruptors. I bring on people that are making a difference. Guest today, I've had him on before. Great guy, great mind. We think alike in a lot of avenues. He works for a local real estate company, KW. I'll say it, I don't care because I like them a lot, right up the street. I was there for a long time. They're a great company, and so I don't mind, and I like actually having them on the show. Today, we're going to talk about something that we both have a pretty deep understanding with, and we've kind of chatted about it before, even before the show, but I want to jump into it because I think, especially in this time that we're going through right now with the whole coronavirus and everything, I think people do resort or default to a lot of those, and then in business in general, especially real estate, they kind of default into this stuff a lot. And the topic we're going to cover today is, are your limiting beliefs holding you back? Basically, the beliefs that you have about anything holding you back from the life you want. So without further ado, Steven Jack, what's up, my man?
How's it going, man?
Thank you for having me. Great to have you back. I know we've been kind of going back and forth about possibly just doing maybe shows, and we don't know how often, but we have good conversations, man, and you're real deep in terms of like me, like the personal development, the understanding, the psychology of it, like, yeah, I think you're actually more so than me. You've done a lot more, but you've motivated me to do like the NLP and kind of dig deeper into stuff that I've already been interested in. What made you want to talk about this today?
Well, so honestly, just in our conversations, whenever we're bringing up whether it be challenges, wins, everything like that, again, it always comes down to a specific theme. And what I've noticed is that, especially like with the circumstances, people finding a new norm, like there's nowhere to hide in our old habits, right? Or those habits or those patterns are showing up more as we're shifting. Yep. Call it what you will, right? Is that as we're shifting, new habits are showing up. And so with these limiting beliefs, what's so interesting is that I don't know about you, but I've noticed that a lot of people seem to default on the limiting belief, whether it be, saying that why would anybody listen to them about this topic? Why would anybody want to work with them? Mm-hmm. Or, how can I go out and do this? Because at some point in time, they made their mind up saying that this is how it is and this is all of reality, and everybody accepts this as a universal truth, right?
Even though it was only for themselves.
Oh, totally. And I think that what's what motivated this conversation specifically comes down to when you start dialing it back. Because a lot of us do hear about limiting beliefs, we were going back, right? Money doesn't grow on
trees, yeah.
Yeah, sure. And so therefore it's coming from more of a lack mindset rather than focusing on abundance. Whatever the origin is, I can almost guarantee that a lot of those decisions somehow, some way were made in adolescence.
Correct.
Or even younger, right? Yeah. Like for you, like what has been your biggest development from, of many, right? But what's been your probably biggest development from being an adolescent to an adult and very successful person?
There's been a few. I obviously grew up in a pretty bad area in a trailer park down south. Had two brothers who were in and out of prison, no father figure. It's crazy though, because I know we want to talk about limiting belief. I think that the one that first came to mind was on the opposite side. Like you said, your parents will tell you when you're younger, what do you think, money grows on trees? And that's a limited belief, like, oh, we shouldn't have money, money's scarce, whatever. I had one, and I was thinking about it recently, which is crazy, because my mom growing up used to always tell me, you're so smart, just like your father. You're so smart, just like your father. You're going to grow up to be just like your father. Well, my father was a self-made millionaire by the time he was 30. And I remember her telling me that, but when you're young, you don't think of anything. It's like, whatever, mom. I don't Dad, I don't
of course
you're
saying that. You're my mom.
Yeah. And I never met my dad, so I was like, yeah, whatever. My brother would tell me, no, but you remember your dad? He used to have yachts and all these things. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously it's not a limiting belief. It's probably an expansion belief, or where the opposite of limiting is. But that alone, just hearing that, I didn't think anything of it. But maybe that's had something to do with me coming from, the ghetto or where it may be, with brothers in prison, with major adversity, and being able to get to this point, because somewhere deep down, I used to tell my mom too, Mom, like, thank you for, and she didn't know.
Yeah.
She didn't get it. She didn't know what
Yeah.
this was. I know my mom. She didn't understand. She was just saying it because literally you're so smart, just like your father.
Right.
You're going to grow up to be just like your father.
Right.
And so I was already thinking, and again, it almost hit me back into '08. So what happened to my dad was he self-made, did really well, made tons of money. Well, when he was like 35, 36, he got sued by, he owned a construction company, and he got sued by the company that he built for and lost everything. And he never recovered. He literally lost everything, went into depression, kind of just started doing drugs, and died of a cocaine overdose when he was like 73 years old or something. So when I went through the crash of '08 and I started losing everything, I was like, oh, this is it. I'm just like my father. Like literally, and I remember thinking this, dude. I remember thinking, oh, I'm just like my father. And what did he do? He made all this money, did very well. He was about 35, which I was only 30, but still kind of timelines line up. And I'm like, and he lost everything, and he just fell back and let everything go and started doing drugs. And and I remember telling myself like, oh, maybe that was my run. I'm just like my father. Wow. Maybe that was my run. And I remember stopping and thinking, like I told my mom too, I'm like, maybe that was my run, Mom. Maybe my run was, I'm 30, I'm a little bit younger than him, but I've done all my stuff. And now it's gone. And maybe that was my run, you know? And luckily I was able to, because I read so much and I did all these things, that I was able to come out of it and go, no, that's not your run. You can start back over the way you started before and just keep going. And then I was reading so many books that say a lot of these people that become the most successful or billionaires or change the world, a lot of them hit rock bottom. A lot of them did fail and lose everything. And then it was there, like they came back. Yeah. And they talk about it. It's a common theme across the board with super successful people, that they've lost everything and they bounced back, and they had so many lessons from that it carried them through.
Well, but see, here's the thing though, is that, you know, people like you and other people that have, you know, had their run, so to speak, right, a level of success and then obvious setbacks, which just is life, you know. It's just, so it's a matter of, okay, you win or you learn, right? We've all heard that before. So there is no losing. But I think that what's so challenging for a lot of people is that they don't have that, and not right or wrong, maybe not the grit to be able to take a hard look at on the inside, and that insight, you happen to get it from reading, right? One of the most well-read people that I actually know that pursue that type of education, and that's phenomenal. Let's be honest, not everybody is like that, and so therefore you have an outlet, or you chose to pursue an outlet, whereas many people don't. And what I would encourage for anybody listening, right, that are kind of like, what's limiting belief? Oh, I don't have any limiting beliefs. You know, I live my best life. Sure, you may.
Yeah, what are limiting beliefs? Sorry to interrupt, but just what are limiting beliefs? Let's just start with the basics so people understand. Like, not what example, but what is it?
Well, I mean, so a limiting belief is literally a decision that you have made that truly inhibits, period. Because that limiting belief, let's just say that it's a decision that you make or have made that inhibits you. That inhibition is whether it be in pursuit of abundance, in pursuit of a relationship, in pursuit of new opportunities, right? It limits.
And not to interrupt, but it's not even, sometimes it may not even be a decision you made. It's someone made it for you and you just chose to believe it.
Exactly, right? Because it's like, and this is what we were talking about before, like in middle school and high school, right? I was that kid in the group projects that I'd be like, okay, well, let's all do this. And I somehow, some way made the decision that this won't get done unless I do it. Well, guess what? I've continued that. How old was I when I made that decision? What, 13, 14 years old, with the maturity of a 13, 14-year-old child, you know, adolescent. And that carried me all the way through. And even still, I have those tendencies that I'm basically saying, oh, I've got to take this on myself. If it's going to be done right, I have to do it. That's the limiting belief therein, because I'm either keeping opportunity from other people. I'm thinking that my way is the best way. You know? And so therefore...
And you're not getting everything done that maybe you should. You're not even maximizing your potential.
See, exactly. And so at that point in time, that's still a limiting belief that in order to do it right, I have to do it my way. It's not a limiting belief, but I'm like, oh, you know, I'm not worthy, I'm not powerful. A limiting belief doesn't have to be self-deprecation. It can also be empowering, you know, in the sense to where it's a false sense of empowerment. It's a false sense of security for me that if I do it, things will go well. Well, guess what? If things don't go well, how much harder do I, you know, lean on myself? How much more pressure do I put on myself, you know? And I know there's many people that are listening, watching, that are experiencing the same thing. And the whole point of bringing this up is to really take a look and saying that decision that is made, take a look, consider, and saying, how old were you when you made that decision? Because isn't it a little interesting that maybe you're carrying forward a decision that you made when you were 10, 13, with the maturity of a 10-year-old, 13-year-old, and we're continuing that into our lives? Like, really? You know? And so it's
almost question everything.
Yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that like on the far side of limiting beliefs, you almost have dogma. You almost have like, people are so blocked off to anything else because, and I tell people this all the time, it's like, when they were younger, their nana, their grandma, that, you know, they were telling them, don't you ever do this, or don't you ever do this. And no, you'll never do this. It's evil. And they say with their nana every summer for 7 years, you know?
Yep.
And now growing up, they love their nana so much and they have that belief in there. And they won't change. There's almost it's like dogmatic because they're like, no, I would never. That's my grandma. She passed away. Nana, I love you. I'll never.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll never. Yes, you know what I mean? And they are so like stuck to that idea that they will not open the door to any other ideas.
Yeah.
And it does affect them and hinder them.
Oh, a million times over. And I think that, you know, ultimately, if nothing else, if nobody can really, or if people are challenged, right, in identifying the source, which I don't know if that's going to necessarily be, because on one hand you can say it's like a pearl necklace, so to speak. You undo one pearl, the rest just fall out of place. Once you undo that one limiting belief, every decision that you've made based on that one belief therein just falls apart.
Crumbles.
Yeah, and it helps you create a new future. But for those that may not know what the origin, or if they're challenged in saying, I don't know when I made that decision, it's because we haven't taken the insight, because it's served us in some capacity for so long that we have not, as you put it, interrogate the reality and just interrogate it in general, because it really is powerful if you don't have an answer to just say, this is the origin, this is the source, to at least consider that, is this 100% true across the board? Would everybody agree with that? Is this a universal truth? And sometimes just being able to step outside of oneself and taking that moment of consideration and saying, would everybody agree with me in that belief? Everybody, not just your select group of people, right? Because we all gather evidence to support our case.
Yep.
You know,
and
right?
we look for it. Yeah.
Exactly. We look for it, right? I made this decision. See, other people agree.
Yep.
You know,
he doesn't agree. Oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Oh, you're
you
an
agree?
idiot.
Hey,
Yeah.
see, he's smart.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Let's just talk about any political campagn. That's basically what goes on.
Yes.
You know, like just let's.
And
let's
they don't
be
even,
out
that's
there.
why I see so much dogma. And like they won't even look, even though there's something black and white that's so right to them right here, they won't even have it and it's so wrong and they don't even know why. And you're like, you just want to shake them almost.
Yeah.
But yes, I get it.
And so it's like, and it's such an accepted way of life. And it's just so, we're all just used to it, that it's just, that this is the reason why, you know, coming back full circle as to why this, you know, is being brought up now, is that again, the light, we're not able to hide in a lot of places now, you know, as things shift. We have to pivot our behaviors, our attitudes, our mindsets, the way that we conduct ourselves, our businesses, our relationship.
And everything's slowed down, so you actually have a chance. And I've been having crazy conversations with people. You actually have a chance to see, like, what's really happening in your life, what your habits are, what your disciplines are, how you're living. You start questioning stuff because you have all this time by yourself to think about shit. And then you start, you know, you slow down from your habits that are just speeding through the day, every day doing shit. And then you slow down for a second, you go to do it, and you're like, wait a minute, why am I doing this? And like you said, I like what you said about a lot of times, if someone's open to challenging or they have an aha moment or a paradigm shift in one area, sometimes it dominoes into everything.
Yep.
And like they'll start, like me, I just know when I started like learning certain things, I just know, for example, my calves. I told myself forever that I couldn't grow calves. That's just in the family, but, and then I started really deep in it. Why, asking the why over and over and over, all the way down the line. And I go, it's because my brothers who were in prison did the prison workout, which is no legs, only arms and chest, right? And they'd come home, they would never work legs, and they're like, oh, no, legs, you know. And so for some reason, I picked it up over time. I don't even know when it happened that, I don't have big calves because calves don't grow in my family. And then I'm like, no, it's because my brothers didn't do calves. And then I'm not joking, dude, so I would never really work them out. And then all of a sudden I stopped when I was questioning something else. I'm like, I was like going through the chair, like, my calves, that's a limited belief. I'm like, I'm going to start training my calves like I train my biceps to have, I'm not joking. They started growing and they started coming. I'm like, oh my God. And then you like, yes. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, what about this?
What
and
else
this?
can I, yeah.
Yes, dude, yes.
And I think that, and that's something that I wish for everybody, right? It can be something as, as calves that create it's just the smallest little pebble in the pond, right? That creates these waves that just huge, and it grows exponentially. And I just wish that by people, again, you're doing it because you're naturally well-read and you seek out that type of information. And it always starts with a decision, right? That decision is either going to make our future, break our future, or whatever have you, because it does continue on and it creates this butterfly effect that everything else will follow suit based on how we're being on a decision, you know? So it's a logical choice that we've made that has affected our emotions, that it's not just what we're doing, but it affects our human being nature, you know, whom we're being, and it either creates a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
Right. So, of course, see, look, you know, small calves run in my family, right? Check it out. Well, you don't work them out. That's the real reason.
That's the real reason.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of like, that's the real reason.
And my whole thing, I tell myself, there's no reason to work them out, Jeff, because even if you do, they're never going to grow.
Oh, yeah.
So just leave them alone.
Yeah. So when you actually do, you're like, well, hot damn, look, take a look.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so that's, I think, what would be so great for so many people, to just take a pause moment and take into consideration that if something's not working for you in that moment, and just saying, okay, everything that I've done up to this point has served me. Thank you. Right? Express that gratitude, because even the worst of habits, let's be honest, they still serve us.
Yeah.
You know, the worst of habits still serve us in some capacity, whether it be to provide security, safety, consistency, whatever have you. Same thing with good habits. But identifying both good and bad habits and just taking a look within and saying, okay, would everybody have the same belief? You know, with, you know, bodybuilders up on stage with like these, you know, that look like they have basketballs in their legs.
Yes.
You know, are they going to say, yeah, bro, calves aren't work, you know, they're not worth working out. You know, it's like, would everybody accept that as universal truth? And just taking that moment of pause and being able to look within and saying, would everybody agree with this? It's just that moment in which you can actually interrogate your own reality and then make a different decision.
Because it's not if it's not a universal law or truth, then that means it's your truth.
Exactly.
That means that you've come up with it somewhere along the line. You've come up with it. Because if it's not all, and then that's crazy. And people, again, they don't question it. And if people don't read, it sucks to say, because I'm all about reading and learning, because I feel like you connect dots when you learn. If you, you know, and that's where we're able to have these conversations. But I guarantee we can go out in the street right now and grab someone, pull them in here and start talking. They'd be like, dude, you guys are fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are some nut jobs. Like, leave me, I'm going back to my shit.
Yeah,
like,
this is too fluffy unicorns and rainbows for me, you know?
Yeah, I would have thought that. Maybe not 10 years ago, I would have thought that. You know what I mean? Sad to say, but my family, you probably know a bunch of people that you can't break through their veil. Like, I've tried, dude. Like, I have family members I've had to cut off almost because they literally, I can't break through. Yes. And I've tried. And they're like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't. I'm like, dude, you just got to try. They're like, why would I try? I'm going to look stupid if I try. What if I'm not, why would I know I can't. I'm like, how do you know you can't if you've never tried? Because, dude, I just know. Like, I can look at it and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations. You get to keep your limiting beliefs because you fight for them.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
Good job. Good on you.
Yes.
And it's like, and I say that, you know, sarcastically, obviously, yet it's something that it's still that moment of pause, because if we actually took a moment to consider how silly all of us can be in that moment when we're holding on and defending a belief that is our personal truth and defending it to others, whether it be, again, it can range from a personal limiting belief. It can go political, it can go religious, it can go, you know, in relationships. It's so universal that we are a collective group of individuals, and like it or not, we all get to work with each other on this beautiful earth, and, you know, and even in this industry, you know, if we embrace the diversity and take that moment of pause, I think that will help us live such more abundant lives. Because when we're no longer fighting for our own limitations or making other people wrong for their successes or even their limitations, you know, and making disparaging remarks against them, it's like it takes that moment to where you can actually focus on what you can do, and it puts you back at the source of empowerment, because limiting beliefs by definition limit. What if you were to live limitless? And it always starts by looking at, thank you for that belief. It served you up to a point. Will it continue to serve you? That's really the question. And again, how old were you when you made that decision?
Well, it's crazy because I studied like theta. Kids live in theta between 0 and 7. That's when they're most influential. That's when they learn the most. They'll believe people they look up to authority. They'll believe what they say, and they'll take it on as their own truth. And when you look back, like you said, a lot of them are based off, that I've noticed, money, right? So like most people, they have these, that's where I see it pop up a lot, is two things: physical fitness or physical health. It pops up. I see a lot in people, and finance, you know what I mean? And I see it, we talked about it, I think we talked about it with agents, they can't break the 6-figure mark. And you really good at this. You're a coach and with a lot of agents, and you went deep down and go, why do you think that and there's a limited belief on money. Like somewhere around there, they said you would never, like my whole family's never made 6-figure. Like for some reason they have that belief that they never have been able to break, and you start digging in with them. And I see it with agents as well. You know what I mean?
They get to a certain point, and then sure enough, then they get comfortable.
Or they'll self-sabotage.
Yeah. Oh, well, see, it wasn't worth it. See, I'm not destined for it. And it's like, well, flip it around, because again, that limiting belief, whatever it may be, I'm not determined for success. People don't like me. How can I communicate? I'm a nobody, blah, 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 whatever have you, right? Self-deprecating. Or on the other hand, you think so highly of yourself, right? The big ego, that nobody wants to associate with you because you're a freaking peacock, know? And it's just kind of like, ugh. But regardless, it's still sabotage, because you're not being your true authentic self, because even still that limitation or the perception that, I'm this head honcho, I'm the best, it's still off-putting, and it's still going to keep you from your goals, because it's not a true version of yourself.
Well, I think that's like this whole, people talk about in the last 10, 15 years, the whole 8th place trophy thing, which is on the opposite. People tell, you could be, and they forget the work part and all these other things, but they almost took it to the other side when all this started coming up with limited beliefs and everything, where people they give trophies to every kid. You're the winner, you're the best. And they take that with them, and then all of a sudden they become complacent or entitled and all this stuff.
And when they have to actually work for something.
Yes.
Well,
mommy told me I was gonna, and it's programmed. Like they were in 5 years old, 6 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Honey, you're a winner. You'll always be a winner. You can do it. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to, and I think that I'd rather have that than the negative ones.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's entrepreneurial
to
purposeful. Entrepreneurial is what we do with our God-given talent and just natural abilities based on what we've gone up to this point. And going to purposeful, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to get out of what comes naturally. And I think that's the breaking point, that if you're ever reaching that ceiling, if you're ever noticing that, and many people have natural entrepreneurial styles to where they're just successful naturally, then you're going to have other people that are not successful naturally and have to actually make a stronger attempt.
Well, even that comes into probably their belief system.
Exactly.
That happens somewhere younger.
Exactly.
And you're like, oh, I've always been like this. I'm naturally like this. Yeah. I think that if you take 2 babies out of the womb, I know it's kind of weird to say, but and you take one. I always tell people that are like, oh, my family's all overweight, we can never lose weight. I'm like, no, because if you had a baby right now, I took that baby and I ushered it off and I gave it to 2 people that were Olympic athletes, and they ate the perfect food, the balanced diet. That kid probably wouldn't be overweight. You know what I'm saying? Like, and is there genetics? Maybe it's because your family lineage has always eaten like this or been unhealthy, and they've all told themselves the same thing. So it just kind of raised all the way through and kept pushing. And now you're just like, there's no way I could be like this.
Oh, and that goes back to the age-old question, nature versus nurture,
Yeah.
And it's like and to say, okay, which is accurate, which is right, which then just confirms what we're talking about. People will seek out evidence to support whatever claim that they would like to make.
Yep, and then everyone else is wrong.
There you go.
There's a story that I've heard. I don't know if you heard the same thing, but there's a daughter and a mom in a kitchen, and they're cooking a roast. And the mom pulls the roast out. She cuts the front and the back off and puts it in the pan. And the daughter says, "Mom, why do you cut the front and the back off?" And she goes, "I don't know. Your mother's always done it. Let me call and ask." So they call her mother and go, "Hey, Mom, why do you cut the front and the back of the ham off before you put it?" She goes, "That's a great question. I don't know. Your grandma did it, so I did." They're like, "Well, let's call Grandma." And they call Grandma, and Grandma goes, "Grandma, how can you cut the?" She goes, "Well, when I was growing up, the oven was too small, so we had to cut the front and the back off to make it fit in the oven." Yeah. So that was her truth and the reason. So that passed all the way up, and they didn't even know why they did it for 3 generations.
Right.
But when they got back to the root, it's like, oh no, you don't even have to do that. You could leave it on because now our stoves are bigger; they can fit it.
Sure. Yeah.
So
and it was justified in that moment.
Yes.
It was justified in that moment, and then continued on. So literally, create a mirror image of that specific real example. into then dial it back and saying, let me ask my, my
Yes.
young adult self, hey, why is it that, I made this decision that I have to do everything myself? Well, I don't know, just because it worked out well in grad school. All right,
Yeah.
let me ask my undergrad self, oh, well, why this? Well, it worked in my undergrad. Let's ask my middle
Yes.
school, elementary, right? It's like, well, that's interesting. I made that belief as a child, or that decision was made when the oven was too small.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just like, and I think that would be, I'm going to be very bold in saying that it would be a very different world if we all just took that moment to interrogate our own reality first.
Yes.
Before we seek out that information, or before we then try to negate someone else who doesn't fit within our parameters or our box, and just start looking at it from everybody's entitled to their own beliefs, their own systems. The real question is, does it serve you? And up to
Well,
what
and the
point?
problem is, man, is I feel like what we're talking about, as crazy as it sounds saying, it's a cause for wars,
Yes, it
for
is.
violence, for all these different things that the world suffers from,
Yep.
is because of different belief systems that people probably, I don't want to say a percentage because I don't even know anything close to it, but a percentage of these people don't even know why they believe what they're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, they're fighting for, I'm not like religion or politics or the color of skin or whatever it is that they think that they don't like, they're willing to die and go to war for it. And the craziest part about it, there's probably one little paradigm shift or one little thing they need to hear that maybe I don't know how to say, maybe you don't know how to say, that would change that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And imagine
yeah.
if there was like that one thing. I tell people all the time, dude, if like, that's why I say like love is the answer, and just like if there was no like judgment system, we wouldn't need police, we wouldn't need military, we wouldn't need borders, we wouldn't need any of this crap, bro. Because like if everyone was born with this constant lifetime open mind to question everything, you'd start realizing that it's all, you can literally, if you love wearing burgundy jackets, and I was like, oh, I'll never wear a burgundy jacket. If you and I hang out long enough and you start convincing me, there could be a good chance that in a month I'll be wearing, I'm like, dude, burgundy's a dope color. It means power. It means royalty.
Yeah.
It's just like, and I'm wearing it, and all of a sudden a month ago, I was like, I would never wear that, and all of a sudden a month later, I'm wearing it,
Yeah.
And that's why they say even people, you'll see people that are outliers, they say birds of a feather flock together. And if you think about it, like you'll see, they make movies about it where there's that the kid moves to the town and he has a whole certain belief system about one thing. It was like me when I moved from the city to the mountains, but you have a whole belief system about one thing, and then all of a sudden people pick on you and they beat you up and they do all this, oh, he's in, they throw rocks, but then there's a bunch of movies like this. Over time, they start finding one thing in common, and then another thing and another thing and another thing. And before that happened, before you know it, the outsider now is part of them. He believes the same stuff.
Yep.
He wears the same stuff. He listens to the same stuff. He eats the same places. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute though. So if that can happen, like that's just society. It's like on a smaller scale. You know what I'm saying? Like anywhere you go is like you're going to a different school as a kid, and you're the outsider and you're the one that everyone hates at first or picks on. But as you start adopting their beliefs and their culture and their surroundings, they start liking you, and all of a sudden you fit in.
Well, because that's the whole thing, is that as we naturally adapt, otherwise we'd be extinct. Let's be honest. Adaption is literally the only way for us to survive. Evolution is the only way for survival and to adapt in our circumstances, our environment, right? Otherwise we would have been dead a long time ago, right? So our entire existence has been built on evolution. So who are we to say this is how it is, and I'm not going to adopt, I'm not, or adapt, I'm not going to modify, I'm not going to do this based on whatever decision because I'm right, you're wrong, and again, it's a fascinating concept to say that from our existence is based on evolution. Through the years, through the generations, right? I'm not talking about the origin, that's a whole different topic. But just through the generations, there's been evolution. New, theories that have been tested and proven, so to speak. And I think that why stop there? And why have to wait for something to be proven by the universal masses when sometimes it just starts with us. It just starts with us and saying, what are my truths? What are my beliefs? What are my decisions? When did I make them? Based on what circumstances? Because then you'll be able to see that it's not necessarily universal truth, one, and it may not be a universal application either. So a decision that you may have made in the past, it may not be universal anymore. It may not apply in all circumstances, yet here we are applying it and treating everything the same way. It then becomes generic, and then it becomes our own truth. So
and with the era, I feel like that shit's changing all the time. I mean, in real estate, I've been selling real estate 16 years, almost 17, and I've seen beliefs and the way shit's done and everything change dramatically. And like people that come into the industry today don't see it, And I'm like, and I hate it because I sound like the person who's like, I used to walk to school in snow, but it's like back when I started, it was all fax. You had to run out to Alpine to get the one signature or the one initial on the counteroffer.
Yep.
Run it back, fax it, wait by the fax machine. Like, did you send it yet? No, okay. And then get it and run back out. Like, and people are like, oh, dude, you're weird, bro. Like, stop. It's like when our parents used to go, I used to walk to school 6 miles in the snow, and you're like, stop. Like, what are you talking about? Like, but yeah, those, like you said, the truth can change. What about? So I actually took an NLP course because of you. I was always kind of dabbled in it and looked at it, but then you and I spoke, and I could just tell the way you were speaking differently and your concepts and your ideas. How do you think that plays into this whole thing?
Awareness.
It is, right?
It's just awareness. Is that when you're starting to take a look at the different elements in NLP, whether it be from the first course or I love the Master Practitioner course.
And just to give everyone, NLP is neuro-linguistic programming.
Right. And so we hear it on a more global scale, like, Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, they tap into a lot of the NLP concepps.
Well, the messed up thing about NLP, honestly, I feel like there's still kind of a taboo about it where people feel like, I remember me, I thought you almost use it to like trick people and do all these weird, crazy things.
You want to know something funny? So one of my mentors, Ron Patulski, it's always hilarious because when back in like maybe 2010, 2011, I just had wrapped up my work, being in grad school, right? Specifically for psychology. And when Ron was telling me about NLP, I just said, that's so antiquated. That was a bunch of these hippie, psychologists in the 70s, all smoking opium and, like all, stoned out of their minds. These are two woo-woo concepts. And I'm like, there's no such thing as a subconscious.
Yep. You were like, exactly what we're talking about though, but you were so right about it. You're like,
look, I've studied with these Ivy League, graduates. Like, here's the thing. Oh, I was such a douche.
Dude, I look back, trust me, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so embarrassed for myself of what I was doing.
Right.
And there's even like, I feel like, you'll probably agree, there's even industries like chiropractic. What was chiropractic 25 years ago? Quacks, right?
Oh, sure.
They were quacks. They'll break your neck. They'll kill you. They mess you. And then all of a sudden, and I was like that, and I didn't even know. The reason I thought that is because my mom used to say that, because my mom was an RN. And to the medical field, what's his name? Who's the guy that taught the NLP class?
Dr. Matt James?
Matt James was talking about that. And he was saying that, you have the medical field, which is the doctor, then you have the mindset, which is like psychologists, NLP, and then you have the acupuncture and chiropractic. And he goes, the problem is like none of them, they all hate each other. They all think one's wrong. You can't do this without whatever.
Western versus Eastern medicine.
Yes. And the problem is that like all the Western, which we are, they all believe in like, oh, you got to go to the doctor for all these things. You got to go, and the doctor's like, well, that's how we make our money. He says, yeah, don't mess with them. They're quack. But the reality is, if you were to open that stuff up, I'm telling you, I was totally against chiropractic until I got a pinched sciatica. Yep. Okay. And I was like, and I still would I was on the floor, literally in tears, looking for Vicodin, looking for anything I could to take this pain away. Nothing was helping. And I remember I started Googling it, and I was rubbing it out, and someone said, chiropractors are the best people for that. So I called a chiropractor that was in my BNI, and I said, hey, dude. And I was in pain. Like I was just in agony all the time, and for like a month. And obviously I'm a male. I was fighting it like, oh, I could put up with this. I could do this. I'm not going to no doctor. Yeah. I'm not joking though. Like I called the dude and he was kind of laughing at me. He's like, Jeff, sciatica, pinch sciatica nerves are one of the main things that we treat here. I'm like, really? He's like, dude, come down. I'll fix you right now. I'm like, when you're in that much pain, you'll do anything.
Fine, do it.
I'll be there. You know what I mean? I showed up, like couldn't even walk. I go in there. And I'm still have this like, oh God, is it gonna kill me? Like, oh my God, I still have this negative kind of thing in me, in my mind. Like, I don't know if I trust this, but at this point I'm like desperate. I'll do anything. He sat down, he did a scan on me, a thermo scan to see where the pain, and he showed me up on the screen. He's like going over where it is, and it's bright red, and you can see everything. And I'm still thinking, this is fake. You're making this up because I told you where the pain is. You're making this up. You're just doing it. Right. I'm not. And I'm like, oh. And he's like, yeah, you feel it right there. And then all of a sudden, it was such a cool process because he was literally removing this limited belief out of my mind by slowly proving little points and allowing me to believe what he was doing. I'm not even joking. He's like, yeah, he's done those things. He's like, okay, come out to my table. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, I'll fix you right now. I'll take away 80% of the pain right now. I already know where it's at. I'm like, this guy's a fucking...
Yeah, okay, good luck,
yeah,
good luck.
I'm not joking. He put me on the chair and he did some little feeling and he moved my leg back and he put a leg up. He goes, all right, you're gonna hear a crack, but don't worry, you'll be... Crack! I'm like... Oh my God, you killed me. That's it. I died.
Yeah.
They're all right.
I can't feel my
They're
legs.
all right. They're all right.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. And I couldn't even move my neck. Like my neck it had a limited motion about an inch to each side. And he did that one. He did like 4 cracks to me. I'm not joking. He said, all right, buddy, pat me on the back. Sit on up. I sit up. I'm like, what? I'm like, he's like, all right, look around for me. I'm like, oh my God. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
It was all gone. And I mean, it was still a little bit painful, but it was like, oh my God. It was like I stood up, I walked around, I almost started crying, and this time out of just joy and not pain. And I'm like, and my whole paradigm shifts. I was a raving fan. The minute I walked out of there, I'm like, oh my God, chiropractic, anyone that's having, like, I got goosebumps thinking about it. And from that moment on, my limited belief about chiropractors, I'm like, they're gods.
Sure.
They're gods.
Yeah.
Like,
and sometimes that's what it takes is some monumental thing that it's either going to slap us aside the face, or in the back, or in the side, It's just kind of like whatever it's going to take for us to have that kind of shift. And, at some point in time, and I can't help but just ask that had you interrogated that reality, right? The chiropractors are wax. Had you interrogated that reality sooner, how much sooner could you have gotten rid of that pain?
I know.
And not to put my thumb in your eye or anything like that, because I mean,
it's the truth, though.
Oh, dude,
it's the truth, and that's why I'm like, I love talking about it. Well, the crazy thing is, man, I told my mom, and she's like, "You're crazy. Don't be going." Even after, and she's already retired, obviously in her old ways, and and all of a sudden, a couple of years later, she's like, "Honey, my sciatica, I'm gonna get a new bed," and I'm like, "A new bed?" I'm like, "Mom, try a chiropractor." She's like, "I'm not going to a damn chiropractor. I've told you, honey." I'm like, "Mom, I'm your son. I'm
Please.
you listen to me. Please go." No, finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She went to a chiropractor. She calls me after. She goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "Do you know how many backs we could have saved, Jeff, in the surgery room? Do you know how many backs?" I'm like, "What?" And she's like crying as she's telling me. She's like, the man just took away, this doctor just took away, he's a godsend. She's like, he just took away 90% of my pain. She's like, I literally got up and walked out and I could barely walk when I got there. I'm like, "Mom, I'm telling you." She's like, I'm telling her, she's like, "This is insane." And she's like, "I'm telling you, we could have saved so many fusions and so many backs." She goes, because they would come in, have back pain. Oh, slice them open, start fucking messing with shit.
Exactly.
Yes. And I'm like, and after that, she had her shift, and I saw it, and I was so excited. Like, I told you, Mom. Like, and her and I went through her whole life, and it stemmed from her telling me as a nurse, someone I look up to, no, they're quacks. They're just looking for ways to make money. They're gonna break. It's not proven that. And now all of a sudden, I was able to change my mind about it. That I was like, oh, and I'm still to this day. I'm like, dude, anything go see a chiropractor. Like it's they know they're and obviously in anything there's good and bad, but like you find the right one, and it's just that was for me. It was just like a huge shift, like you said, questioning that and allowing myself. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, man, he talks about it. He's like, people can either change or question their beliefs in a time of joy, or they're forced to in a time of pain.
There you go.
Right? And that's what happened to me, and it's like, and you see it happen. It's funny. You see it happen a lot of times too, and all kinds of stuff. But like, people, like, I'm not a huge religious person, you know what I mean? And not that I'm against anyone that is, whatever. It's just my thing. I've done my research. But like, it's funny how you see people that like think they're all cool and I don't believe in God, but the minute they're in pain, God help me. You know what I mean? Or they start going to church, or they start doing these things because they're in a time of pain when it's not. And I use that excuse because I've heard that a lot. But it's so true, dude. We either can make the change, like you said. If I would have done that before the pain, if I would just started doing but I had no reason to. I waited for the pain to come. But if I would have just really looked at chiropractic, what it was about, did some research, see that it's been around for hundreds of thousands of years, whatever it is, that watched videos of people giving testimonials, but the problem is I probably would have thought they were lying and paid.
Of course.
Right? We tell ourselves these stories.
Oh, yeah. To justify because I'm right.
Yes. And then the one video we find that says, oh, I went to a chiropractor and I came out worse. He messed me up. I knew it. I fucking knew it. That one's true. That's the true person. The other ones are all fake and made up.
Well, it's like, and I think that you've brought this together perfectly as far as it coming full circle from where we started, which was we're in a moment of pause. Mm-hmm. We've been graced with that, regardless of how you want to see what's been going on recently, is that this is given everybody just a moment of pause, period. And so with that moment of pause is that why would we have to wait for a point of pain to start interrogating now, to start questioning our reality now, to start questioning our beliefs, whatever they are now, because that ounce of preparation could have saved you pounds of pain in the future, right? You brought it really full circle.
What's crazy too, dude, is you see it happening like with this pandemic on a global scale. Like when they look at, first of all, a smaller scale, 9/11, everyone was all against each other. 9/11 happened. What happened for the next year or two? Everyone was together, help, support, all that. Yeah, divide, got back together. But now on a global scale with this pandemic, dude, like everyone's like, oh, like we're not damaging the ozone, we're not damaging Earth, we're not doing this. That's just the way it is. And now all of a sudden they're showing, like when they're looking at different, like the forest, and they're looking at smog, and they're looking at, now that we're not out doing all these things as much, they're showing actual pictures of like maybe we are, but we've been so caught up in all this. But now that everyone's slowed down, and we're not in this crazy like, we're like, ooh. Like shit's starting to, like, here's some truths that we weren't believing, that everyone was just blind to or not believing because they were in fast lane, you know what I mean? So it's crazy that it's different levels, man. My personal level, and then like you see it on a country level with like 9/11 or some thing that happens, everyone all of a sudden unites and wants to help, and like you help the people that you would never help, because now it's not just me against you, it's United States against Europe or whatever it may be, and all of a sudden people come together. You see it in sports.
Oh yeah.
Right? You see two people that would hate each other typically, but they both won the same jersey, and now they're best friends. They are best friends.
We're fighting for the same cause.
Yes, but you take that jersey off and put them out in a bar somewhere without that jersey, and they're complete opposites, and they'll fight.
Oh, sure.
So it's crazy to see that. Cool, man. Well, shit, we covered a lot, and I'm glad we did, because we gave some really good examples. We gave some really good context as to why we believe that. I know you, so the thing with us, though, is like we're both more or less in somewhat, you're full-blown coach, so you probably come across this, and now I coach my agents too, and it gets frustrating, but it's where it's literally allowed me not only to and it's still challenging every day, dude. It's, of course. You know it. You come across agents, and you probably, now that you're aware, you can almost just go through the checklist of all their limiting beliefs. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do you do this? Like we were just talking before, agents come in and you can see where their limiting beliefs are. And I think that as you practice, especially me, I'm learning how to practice. And you taught me a big lesson about the tribe versus, we talked about before, tribe versus legacy thing, where I'm like, oh. And I'm not joking. I use that now for every single person I meet, whether it's in business or anything, though. I'm just like, if I think, oh, I don't like that person, and I start really thinking, why don't I like them? Oh, it's because what? They don't want to drink. They don't want to take a shot because they're wearing that, because they're wearing that. Why? Yeah. Like, why? It's because they're not like me. But then when I erase all that shit, dude, and I just get down to like the simple shit, like it just changes my view and perception of everything.
We've all got our own beliefs. We've all got our own struggles. And, far be it for any of us to make the other right or wrong. And, I'm not being totally like, woo-woo here and thinking that everybody is going to be able to just, have this fluid understanding of just the world around them. Like, and I think that gives us structure. It gives us structure. Let's be honest. And I think that, let's appreciate the structure that it's given, and also acknowledge that structure will make tomorrow. Like, one of my favorite sayings is that we did not inherit this world from our ancestors. We're borrowing it from our children. And when you're looking at it from that concept and seeing it, that if you're concerned about the future, whether it be your own, whether it be your children, whether it be, your legacy for the business, whatever have you, so create tomorrow. And it starts with today. It starts with interrogating everything that has made you up to this point, good, bad, indifferent, everything that's made you, that structure that you've created up to this point. Does it serve you entirely? If it does, great. It's choice. Then you're in choice. If it hasn't served you, great. And you're still in choice.
Yep.
I think that that's what a lot of people become resigned to, is feeling that they disempower themselves, realizing that, or thinking, oh, I don't have the power over this. This is just the truth. Take that moment of pause and just like you were saying, had you considered or just interrogated the reality that you had about chiropractors just a little bit sooner, how would that have changed the trajectory of, you know, your circumstances? And I think that that's the one thing that I would encourage anybody listening, and just kind of like, you know, as we're bringing this to a close, is take a look at that and question, who are you going to be tomorrow? Because it is about choice. We are patterns. We've created patterns. We've created these structures around us. If they work for you, great. If they don't, change.
Yeah. Question everything. That's the thing, is question
everything.
And it's crazy, just to give one more example, because it's like kids, you know, like we see kids these days, we're like, oh, you're on their damn phone all the time, or your laptop, or wherever or we see the way they dress. We're like, well, how could you ever wear that?
Sure.
I'm in a position where I'm able to, and I used to be this, step back and be like, oh, well, I used to do this. And I remember my parents, or like people would be like, why are you doing that? That's so stupid. Like, blah, blah, blah. And now and it's changed the way I look at kids now. Like when I see kids on their phone all day, you know, you could say, oh, they're bad. That's bad for them. They're antisocial. Well, if you really look at I'm like, when we were young, we were on video games, or we went out and played all the time in the streets and rode bikes. We could have died, got hit by cars, all kinds of crazy shit. Now they're on a screen, and who says that they're not communicating? What if they're in a playing a video game with 30 of their dudes on a thing, and they're talking to everybody, and they're building like, so that's for me, you know, because it's like it made me think of it, because you said we're borrowing it from our children, and it's like it's all new.
Evolution.
It's evolution. It's all a new belief system. You know what I mean? And their kids will probably dress and do weird shit, to where the kids now are going to go, oh my God, look at you kids. When I was your age.
When I was your age, I was on my phone 24/7.
Yes.
You know, I would be able to just do this. And Lord knows where we're going to be.
I'm saying, if it was, imagine it's all in 30, 40 years, it's all internal, and you just blink your eye, and it's all like a thing in your eye. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. We used to actually carry a phone. It was a thing. We had to worry about it going dead all the time. We had to look for chargers. All of our things. Think about that. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's crazy, because I hear people that are older than me, like in their 60s, 70s, goes, oh my God, you guys have it so good. If I wanted to call someone, I had to run home or find a payphone, or I had to go find a book, because I had a book. And if I left my address book somewhere and got all the way up 2 hours away and I didn't have the number, I was screwed. If nobody was home, I couldn't call them to get my number. So like, it's all just like you said, it's evolution, dude.
Embrace change.
And just think about that anything. All right, brother. Thanks for coming on. You guys follow this guy, Stephen Jack, on Instagram. I know it was so funny. This guy is so crazy. I was trying at first. I was going to put a picture of you up and everything, but then I thought this was a little more appropriate, because I've already had you on. But I was like looking through your Instagram, like, I don't think there's one professional photo of him on here. But I love it though, because it was like so real. I was going to get some crazy one of you doing something crazy. Like, fuck it, that just says who he is. Like, you know, that's the real guy. Versus if I try to put up something of you in a suit I'm like, no, but he's real. But follow the dude. He puts some crazy shit. He's hilarious. Has a great voice. Other than that, man, thanks for coming on again. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
All right, guys, stay tuned until next time. Later.